Well, it's about 10 to 4 in the afternoon, and I just passed the cutoff to H31 and 32. So it's 1.8K from that point to the cutoff to my campsite, and I am spent. Just had another major climb after that cutoff to those two campsites. Whew, and it wore me out. So I think I'm at the top, and I just took a break, water break. I just figure this is the way to do it. You know, when I need it, just stop. Doesn't matter what time I get to the campsite, as long as I get there. So I'm figuring, you know, including the walk to the campsite off the trail, I probably got another hour worth of walking. So I'll probably take another break in a half an hour and make sure I keep the batteries charged, because it is tough sledding, especially at the end of the day. Probably wouldn't be too bad first thing in the morning when you're fresh, but at the end of a long day, it's pretty tough. But the sun's out. Should be a fairly decent night at the campsite. I'm hoping I get there early enough to take a dip, because I need to get the gunk off and get into some dry clothes, because I am just sopping wet. I can't imagine doing this trail in the summer. Whew, it just must be something else. Anyway, I'll check in either in a half an hour when I stop, or more likely at the campsite. Talk to you later. Still surviving. Well, good morning from Little Mountain Lake. Got my glasses on this morning because I want to show you the map and what happened to me yesterday. But one thing I did forget to mention. Just after H21, you go down a very steep descent and then up following along a waterfall. And at one point you actually have to walk into the waterfall itself, so the rocks are all wet and slippery and things like that, so you have to be very, very careful. I think I'd rather go up than down, but either way you got to make sure that your footing's secure. But anyway, made it through that, and I think the last video I had done yesterday, I had just completed the majority of the big ascent after Shagog Lake. So let me show you what happened, and I still don't know how it happened. So let's see if we can get the map. So there is Shagog Lake. Zoom in a little bit. I don't know what happened. I just lost the video feed, but hopefully you can still see it. So there's Shagog Lake, and I had climbed up to about this point here, somehow got twisted around, and as you can see it goes from 397 down to 254. So when I saw that, I said, okay, so I've got a big descent down into the lake, no problem. So I started a descent, which I thought was that one, and then started, you know, saw the campsite sign and started, you know, going into what I thought was a little mountain. But actually, I was back at Shagog. So somehow I got twisted around here, ended up back down Shagog, walked all the way to H32 where there were campers there, talked to them, and of course I'm convinced this is Little Mountain Lake, and hopefully I didn't come across as being a cranky old man, but you know, I was pretty spent by that point. Realized that I was on the wrong lake, had to walk all the way back up the ascent, and then this descent here down to Little Mountain Lake is down like almost a sheer rock face, and I'm sure with fresh legs at the beginning of a day it wouldn't be too bad. I started down here at H19, so I traveled all this way, all through here, all through here. So by the time I got to this point, I was spent. So as I'm beginning the ascent, I'm thinking, geez, I'm not going to get to the campsite till 6:45 or so. So rather than have people worry at home, especially my wife, I said, well, I'll stop here and send a message that I'm at my campsite even though I'm not. But I figured that was the lesser of two evils, because, you know, the longer I took, I know the more worried she'd get. So it takes about 20 minutes for the spot device to send its message, so I just took a break while it was sending and then continued on. So I didn't get here till 7:05 last night. So I had about an hour of usable daylight, and you know, just did my camp setup really quick and had a quick dinner and coffee, and then I went to bed. I mean, The stars were out and I would have liked to stay up, but I knew after that day I needed my rest. So today I climbed back up out of here. Then I've got an ascent up to 320, down to 288, back up to 406, down to, I think that's 306, up to 341, down to 292, and then down to 222 to Boundary Lake. So all in all, with the in and out of campsites, I'm figuring about 7K today. So that's not too bad. I should be, fresh legs and stuff should see me through. It is 9:08 right now. I've been up since 7. It was a little dew last night, so the fly was a little wet, so I've got it out on a rock. I'll show you a little mountain lake here in a second. Got it out on a rock just drying, and I thought I'd enjoy a second cup of coffee while that was happening, because I should have no problem getting out of here between 9:45 and 10 o'clock. The tent's down. I just got to pack it and then pack the pack, so that shouldn't take too long. And then I figure, even with, you know, a rest stop and a lunch stop along the way, I should be at my campsite between 1:30 and 2, and that's good because I need a shore bath in the worst way. I mean, I stink. It is brutal. When you can smell yourself, you know. And it's a combination of sweaty sock and campfire and old man sweat. It ain't cool. But everybody who's out here is experiencing the same thing, I'm sure, so they know what it's like. But yeah, I could use that shore bath just to feel human today, and, you know, just to kind of take care of things. So let me show you around. It's a beautiful little lake. Grab my cup of coffee here. Now, I didn't have a fire last night. I don't know who was here last, but that's the shape they left the fire pit in. Terrible. You got to clean up after yourself, folks. I mean, you don't leave that kind of mess for the next person to clean up after you. And had I had a fire last night, I would have done that, but, you know, not my circus, not my monkeys, I guess is my expression. So I don't know if you can see the yellow bags back in the back there, but the tent was set up in that area, my gear explosion there. And then what's really nice is you got this nice little pathway, which we're going to take. And there's almost a sidewalk ahead. I'm sure you're catching the bright sunlight. It's a gorgeous day. It's already about 20 Celsius, but not a breath of wind. And so you get out here, and like I say, there's almost a sidewalk out to a beautiful rocky outcrop. So it would have been really nice had I got here in the time I thought I would, which was 5:15. And that was the time I got to Shagog after making the wrong turn. But you can see I just got some things out drying. My wet shirt from yesterday, my socks, and the fly should be dry now, so I'll pack that up in a bit. But give you a panoramic view. Hopefully the sun's not too bright and you can see the lake. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful scenery. The lake is almost a greenish blue. I'm sure the camera won't pick it up with the bright sunlight. But that's a little mountain lake, and it was descent in, so I know it's going to be a climb out. But I'm looking forward to today and looking forward to no mistakes. So we'll check in later. Take care. Well, it's 10:30, left campsite at 10:06, and that gives you an idea of how high I climbed already. That's a little mountain lake below me. So dripping sweat already, but the legs are remarkably holding up after yesterday. Give you a little kind of panoramic of what's going on here. Nice ridge line. All behind me now, and now I'm turning to the direction I've got to go. That way, into the sun. Onward. Talk to you later. Well, it's 12:45 and that's my lunchtime view. Stopped now for about a half an hour. Had my, oops, sorry for the wind noise, but had my protein bar and some beef jerky and slugged back some water. Probably slugged back little more before I leave. Looking at the map, pretty sure I've done the 2 major ascents that I had to do today, so it should be net downhill from now to Boundary. Just guesstimating by the map, I'm going to say I'm going to be there, with another 15-minute rest stop, probably an hour and a half. So that'll put me at a designated time in between 1:30 and 2, which is what I thought I would get to. This section of trail, for those who are unfamiliar with Cloche or Cloche Silhouette Trail, is called the Hanson Township section, named for Canada's own man in motion, Rick Hansen. And it's a test, that's for sure. A lot of going along exposed ridges and ups and downs, and like I say, those 2 major ascents. The legs are tired from yesterday still, so certainly feeling it, but still in good shape. And like I say, this was a well-needed short day, so hopefully I'll be at the campsite soon and take a nice shore bath and feel human again. So check in later. Take care. Well, I have arrived at Boundary Lake. Took me just over 3 hours and 10 minutes. That includes two 10-minute rest stops and a 30-minute lunch. So all in all, pretty good time. Just giving you a panoramic shot of the view. Right there in front of us is Silver Peak. That's where I'll be tomorrow, hopefully. If I make the decision to go up, I'll go up packless, obviously. But just a gorgeous sight, gorgeous lake. Nice front porch. A little bit of cleanup to do in the fire pit area. I'll show you that in a second. Once again, I don't know what people think, but you don't leave that crap around for the next person. That's just bad manners all the way around. But we'll get that cleaned up. We'll find a tent spot, get everything set up and ready to go, and then I'm taking a dip. Talk to you later.